So if I'm not wrong, judging by the feel of this packet, this is the super cheap eBay assembled Nixie clock. So it's taken quite a while to get here. Let's see. No instructions or anything. No, not missing anything there. So no instructions, no nothing. So this is the JM Nixie clock version 1.5 2018-0527. So it takes a CR1220 for the battery backup. This is a DS3231. Here we've got an IRF 640 and a 470 microhenry inductor. I presume that there is a 34063 or something. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, see if we can figure out what that is. I can't read anything at all on that. 34063. And there's a little controller there. Some ST thing. Figure out the number of that afterwards. Some LEDs on the back. And that's it. So presumably tubes going from this side. I won't be using my best tubes for this, that's for sure. All of the HV stuff. You can see some control lines going in there. And lots of individual lines snaking through to the tubes. So this must be, I've been told it's a Supertex or a microchip HV controller. So you really are on your own with this, huh? I've also been told, so people have said that the resistors used for the anodes are the wrong value. It gives a very dim value. Up, down, set. Caution, high voltage. And there you go. 10 microfarad 400 volt capacitor. So it is indeed very cheap. If you get any problems, I suppose you can spend your time figuring it out, or you can chuck it in the bin. DS1, DS2, DS3, DS4. Don't know what they are. Absolutely no information at all. So these apparently are going to be IN-14s because that's what it said on the advert. That looks like a programming connector. That's it. Let's do a couple of quick experiments with it. So let me put some power on. This is 9-volt power here, and I presume we should be able to measure the voltage probably over this capacitor here. So let's see if we can make any form of sense of this at all. There we go, some volts being shown there. Let's have some power. Something happened. Let's look at the voltage. No test points from the negative to the positive. 177 volts. Okay. Be really surprised if anything's getting hot at this point. So it does something. So I'm continuing the build of this eBay cheapo kit. What I've done so far is I've got a couple of tubes. I haven't soldered them in yet, but I've just spread the legs out so we can actually see if anything's going to happen. There's not really much to do on this, so all I've done is I've chucked the tubes in and then we will power it on and see what happens. So bearing in mind the tubes won't connect properly if I don't hold them down. Yeah, alright, seems to be doing something. But the high voltage isn't right. That seems to be either not enough voltage or maybe too little current. But anyway, so I'm not going to use my best tubes for this. It's silly to have a nixie clock kit where you put $60–70 of tubes in it, and well, basically the kit costs 25 or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder these in, and then we'll see how it looks when we have some tubes in there. So all I'm going to do, move these tubes out of the way. I'm going to try and solder these in and make sure they all line up, so about the same height. And to do that, what I'm going to do is first of all I'm just going to solder the anode just one at a time, and we'll see if we can make the tubes sit up nice and straight. So that's that anode, and we can adjust it afterwards. So these tubes have quite short leads, so they do need to be put in quite tight to the board. Alright, now I'm going to also solder two other pins, so we've got like a tripod, and then it makes them very easy to adjust afterwards. So these two, doesn't really matter which ones you do, but just so you've got a way of adjusting them. So those are sitting too far back, so I guess I will bring them forward a bit. Okay, that looks about straight. So I've just got something here with a right angle on it. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. This guy here needs to go across a little bit. That's not bad. Okay, let me go around and do the rest of the pins then. And then we'll trim this up, see if it still looks anything like it's working. Okay. Okay, and this one has slightly longer leads. Okay, let us see again. Make sure it's doing something like the right thing. Okay, 2, 3, 4, that seems to be counting, doesn't it? Okay. So the process of putting additional tubes in is a bit fiddly. Especially with these old tubes that I've got, you need to get the pins straight, which they're not by default. Oops, didn't like the sound of that. So all I'm doing is I'm straightening out the pins, and then the one with the white mark on it on the back is the anode, and that goes in the hole which is marked with the square around it. And then all I'm doing is I'm trying to push in the pins one at a time as we go around. And then if we get lucky, let's check if I actually damaged that tube. It made a nasty sound. Oh, okay. Okay. And I find it best to put the tubes in pairs. This one has slightly longer leads, so some of these tubes are very old. These are from 74, 76, basically quite ancient tubes. But they're in my box of tubes to use for projects now and again. This one has leads which are quite a bit longer. So we're going to do just Start with a very long one. Ah, you know what? Let's trim these up so that they're going to be a bit easier to get in. So instead of them all being wildly different sizes, so I've just trimmed them so that they kind of get smaller as they go around. It's just a bit easier to get in like that. So I'm going to do the tubes in pairs. And we're going to start from anode 1, 2, 3, anode 1, 2, 3. So that's the longest one. So anode goes in the anode hole. Yeah, it's a bit fiddly, but it's not too bad. Okay. So these aren't lined up yet. That will be more or less lined up. Let's check they both work without holding the board. Okay. Let's do the same drill. I'm going to solder one pin first. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm just loosening the joints off. Sort of formed a bit of a tripod there till all the tubes line up. And they look sort of, oops, boink. And they look like they're standing up straight. Let me get some helping hands. I'll hold this up a bit better. And maybe I can solder it with more ease. Okay. Check we're still going good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Okay. And then the final two tubes. And then we can have a play around with the so-called features, if there are any. I've got a feeling there might not be very many. And even if there are any, I might not be able to find them. Now, a bit mysterious. Are these LEDs or what goes in there? I don't know. We'll have to find that out. We'll figure that out in a minute. So these little offcuts here, they tend to stick around on the board. So you have to make sure you get rid of them. And make sure you get them off your working area. So that is fundamentally it. Now we have to figure out what goes in the separators there. Let's just check that we're still all good. That's so soft and squishy. Look at the digits on that. That's quite terrible, but okay. What does up do? Changes colour. Okay. What does set do? Okay. Okay, set. All right. Can we make it do anything else? Holding down the set button. Nope. Is that it? Are those the features? Is that everything? Oh, look at those soft, squidgy digits there. Wow. It's horrible. Okay, I'm going to get a battery. Oh, and I suppose we ought to figure out what goes in there. DS1, DS2, DS3, DS4. Any ideas? Let's have a look at what sort of voltage we can find out across there. At least it will give us an idea if it's like lots. Oh yeah. That looks like neons to me. 160 volts across there. So 160 volts across all of them. What do? Do they just come on and stay on? I don't know. I don't know. If it makes any sense at all. 160 volts, that's an awful lot. That's a lot for a little neon. Okay, neon, hole. Neon meet hole. Okay, so it comes on and stays on. I suppose the idea is to put them in one low down like that and another one a bit higher up. I suppose I ought to turn this off really. Boring. Okay. Alright, let me just solder those in. Should we do 2 low down and 2 high up? Like that. So just to say, in the end, I ended up putting just one of the neons in instead of 2 of them. In the middle, I think that looks better. And we can see what happens, and it basically, the neon just comes on and stays on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a battery in it, in the CR1220 socket there, and we'll see if it keeps time. And then I will do a review of the features, which I suppose was going to take me a long time because it seems to be absolutely jam-packed with features. And yeah, then report back to you. There we go.